everyone. My name is Justin. Oops, there we go. I'm one of the software engineers here at Tilt 5. And today I'm going to be going over a couple of different things related to developing with Tilt 5 in Unity. I think one of the first things I want to go over, this is a common question we get asked a lot, is what is Tilt 5? Well, for anyone that's in our Discord, you're probably familiar with it already, but just to make sure, Tilt 5 is a holographic augmented reality glasses that, when you put them on, allow you to see new 3D scapes appear on the board in front of you. One of the things that we've worked really hard at Tilt 5 is enabling game development and integration, because we want to kind of expand the sphere of platforms that we work on. We want to make sure everyone has the opportunity to kind of work with our glasses and see new things that come up. So what we kind of want to show off today is we want to show off just how easy it is to start getting developed in start development in particular Unity with the Tilt 5 system. Unity was the first SDK that we developed, and it's kind of been one of our primary focuses in terms of getting new developers into using the system. So in terms of what we'll be using today, we're going to be working with exclusively Unity 2021. Tilt 5 does support all the way back to 2018 LTS currently, but simply because there's new features available, we're going to be focusing on 2021 today. I think the first thing we're going to go through is how to get the Tilt 5 SDK, how to get into your project, and we're also going to get some other assets set up so we have a little baseline to work off of. We're going to go over how to add different inputs and utilize the Tilt 5 wand with the system. We're going to discuss some of the common techniques that people would like to use with the system, including using the Tilt 5 board, panning around and zooming in on your scenes. If we have time, we will try and talk on how to add a second player. And at the end, we're going to show off a little bit of how to use Mixcast to show the system off to your friends. Now, I do want to recommend, if anyone is interested in getting a Tilt 5 themselves, wait till the end of this session, and there may be a special surprise for you. So the first thing we're going to need to do is, I already have the latest version of Unity installed. So we're going to go ahead and just get a full fresh project in 2021 going. Let's call this Unity demo. Just have a blank slate to work on. While that's starting up, I'm going to go ahead and move into getting the SDK available. So if you head over to tilt5.com, under our support tabs, we have a download section, and we have two very important things when developing with the Tilt 5. The first are going to be the latest drivers. We're currently on Tilt 5 driver version 1.3.2. That will allow you to actually plug your glasses into the system and have your computer recognize them and start using them. And what we're going to focus on today, the development, you're going to need to download the latest SDK. Once you download that, it's just a quick install, and it will go ahead and put a bunch of very useful things, in particular the native SDK, which is for people who are not using Unity, and the one we're using today, the Unity SDK, a plugin, as well as an example scene with a couple useful projects and things like that. So we'll go ahead and give that an install. And just like that, we are ready to start working. Looks like Unity is still doing its thing. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the other pages. If anyone is trying to follow along themselves, the two assets that I'm going to be using just because they were free and available are going to be this cute little toony turtle. I believe the download link should be provided inside of the Eventbrite message. But if you didn't, you can also just search for it yourself. And then we're also going to be using this tropical island light, low poly 3D, just something cute and easy to use. You'll want to hit, this will say add to your assets here. Once you add it in, you'll be able to download it in your Unity project once it starts up. All right. Looks like we've got Unity up here. So, first things first, we're going to need to get our new assets into this project. So we're going to go over to the package manager. Because I added these to my assets a while ago, I should be able to download both this cute toony turtle. I'll go ahead and import it into my project, as well as this tropical island. We will get that imported as well. Cool. With those in, let's go ahead and pull up a sample scene, something like this demo scene here. All right, so we've got a big ocean with a cute, tiny little island here. Now, right now, there's not much going on. Nothing's really happening on this island. If we hit play, just a standard camera view of the island. So, let's take this island and turn it into a Tilt 5 experience. First thing we're going to need to do, we're going to get rid of the old cameras. We don't need any cameras. Tilt 5 provides all its own cameras for everyone. Then, we're going to go to Assets, Import Package, and a Custom Package. And if you navigate, the kind of default location that we install is going to be in your Program Files, Tilt 5, and then there should be a folder called SDK, and that Unity plugin. And in there, you'll have the Tilt 5 plugin, which is a Unity package. These are all available as soon as you install the SDK on your computer. All you have to do is hit import, and you're pretty much ready to go. We provide a large number of useful scripts that kind of make the Tilt 5 work, but the most important thing you're going to need today is going to be this Tilt 5 prefab located in the prefabs folder. As soon as you drop that in the scene, looks like it's a little far off. Kind of move that to, let's see, where's my terrain at? 500, 500. Move this to like 500, 500. All right, that's got it pretty close. So the Tilt 5 board acts as our tracking origin. So everything that's displayed on the board in real life is going to be visible essentially wherever this board gizmo exists in the scene. So now that I put this Tilt 5 prefab in, as soon as I hit play, I gotta make sure our glasses are actually connected to the system. Forgot to plug those in. I'm gonna wait for the glasses to boot here. And the glasses are ready. So, you'll see over here we have these objects that have been created, the glasses 0 object. And if I put my glasses on and take a look towards the board here, you guys should be able to see on my screen the view that is replicating what is going on in my glasses. So as I move my head around the board, it's showing you exactly what I am seeing, simply projected in 3D on the table to my left. So, that's the first step. That's just getting Tilt 5 running on this system. So, with that done, we're already off to the races. We're going to try and add some inputs into this. To do that, I'm going to need a character. I'm going to need a little model to work off of. I'm going to start with this cute little toony turtle. Something that seems like it would fit well on a desert island. Now, when it came to designing the Tilt 5 system, we strive to kind of emulate the Unity input system in as many ways as possible to make things easy to pick up for new developers. So I'm going to make a new script here called the Input Manager. And that will allow me to, let's get this loaded. this is where I'm going to put all of my input code to kind of get the Tilt 5 wand working. I think the first thing I want to do is get this turtle moving. So what we're going to do, the kind of original inspiration for the input system was we based it on the kind of classic original Unity input system, which is a polling-based system wherein during the update loop you can query either buttons or the wand stick or anything else that you might have on your wand. You can just query the value of it, and based on what that value is, you could do different actions. So, for example, if I just wanted to get the value of the joystick right on the top of the wand, we'll use tilt5.input.try.get.stick.tilt. Now, the most important variables here, we're going to have an out variable that is going to be our, let's just call it joystick value. And yeah, those are the only values we need by default. Is somewhere to store the joystick value if it's able to get it from the wand. There are some other parameters in there that involve whether you're using a right or a left wand, whether you're player 1, 2, 3, or 4, but we can talk about those at a later time. For now, we're going to take this stick tilt. Let's see. I'm going to need some kind of, let's just call this geo, some kind of game object that I'm going to be moving around. Probably important to have a move speed, and that's all we're going to work with for today. All right, so now we're going to take, geo.transform.position. We're going to go ahead and, translate. We're going to go ahead and translate this turtle. Now, the Tilt 5 wand comes in as a vector 2, meaning it has an x and a y value. And translate typically requires an x, a y, and a z value. Because in Unity by default the z vector goes straight up, we're actually going to form a new vector for ourselves. This is going to be a new vector 3, stick tilt dot x 0 and stick tilt. I'm sorry. The y by default goes straight up, x goes forward, and z goes left, right. We're going to go ahead and take the joystick values x and y and throw them into the x and z values of our translate to make sure we're moving around the ground smoothly. We're also going to make sure to multiply by our move speed, and a Unity classic, because we're in update, we're going to make sure to multiply by time.delta time, make sure we get some small increment of our movement over the course of this, otherwise our turtle is going to start shooting all over the place. So, with this input manager written up, pretty simple, straightforward script. We'll make a new input manager object here to hold it. Drop the script on. We're going to need to tell it which game object to move, which is going to be our turtle. And we're going to set its move speed to something like 3. Just like that. If we give it a play, put my glasses on, and fingers crossed, our turtle starts moving around the island. Perfect. Now, right now we're just kind of translating in the X and Z directions. I think I want to add a little bit more to this. Make sure our turtle sticks onto the island. So I'm going to go ahead and give our turtle a rigid body. Make sure he has gravity. And just like that, our turtle should be sticking a little more closer to the island. Oh, forgot about that. This turtle right now has a capsule collider, where we don't really want him to have a capsule collider, or he is going to forever roll off the edge of the stage. So let's use a box collider instead. Go ahead and make sure this box collider is a good size for our turtle. second. That looks pretty good. Give it a play. Hopefully he doesn't roll off the island this time. There we go. Now he's behaving a little bit better, staying on the ground. Might find himself running into things, but that's okay. The goal here was just to get beginnings of input going into our game. Now, in addition to the kind of classic input system that we used, this kind of polling for different values, we at Tilt5 also integrated with the input system, the kind of new Unity style of managing inputs. To kind of show that off, I'm going to actually come over here and I'm going to enable the input system for my project. Under the package manager in the Unity registry, you can install the input system into your project, which is the click of a button. After a couple seconds, that will finish installing, and we'll be able to utilize some of the more state-based actions in terms of getting inputs. Yes, don't worry, the whole thing is being recorded and will be made available as well. I apologize if I'm going a little quickly. We only have so much time. Alright, this is going to ask me to restart the editor. Not a problem. Give it just a second. And we'll be right back up and running. You have no idea how many different versions of Unity I've had to install over the years. I think I'm at 6 or 7 at the minimum right now, with just different projects that come across my plate. All right, let's get back into our input manager. Now that we have the input system enabled, we can, let's go ahead and throw it in. So with it set up, instead of using the tilt5.input, we're going to use tilt5.wand, and we're going to try and get a wand device. Now this function needs a couple different values. We need the player we're getting, the controller. In this case, all controllers come in by default first as a right wand. So we're going to focus on the right wand right now. And then I need a variable to store this in. Out var wand device. Now, the reason I'm wrapping all of these in an if statement is because these are conditional attempts. They're going to try and access the wand device. If there is no wand connected, we don't really want to do anything with the wand yet. So this if statement will fail if there is no wand connected. That way, we're only taking inputs when we actually have a wand. So if we have a wand, and we are in fact able to get it as a device, let's start by, let's just take this kind of similar thing with the stick tilt and we'll do it the same way just with the wand device. So I am going to do a vector2, and I'm going to call this input movement. And it's going to equal wand.stick. So now wand device has a bunch of different components to it. We have the different buttons, like the 3 button, the tilt5 button, the trigger, the 2 button, the A, the B. We're going to focus on the stick right now. And I'm going to read its value. And that's going to take whatever number, whatever -1 to 1 values are in the wand, and store them into this input movement vector2. Now, just like I did before, I'm going to convert that into a vector3. This is going to be called movement direction. A new vector3 comprised of input movement dot x 0 and input movement dot y. Next, I am going to change my movement just a little bit, and I'm going to say game object dot Yeah, let's get the rigid body this time. And we will do a move position. This time taking in the dot transform dot position plus movement direction times move speed times, of course, time dot delta time. Should you spell everything correctly? All right, now that will get our turtle moving around. However, there's a little extra I want to add into this one just for some fun extra flair. Let's say we want to turn this turtle as well. I'm going to check if the movement direction is not vector 3 dot. This way we want to make sure they haven't just left the stick in the default 0 position. As long as there's some amount of movement going into this joystick, we're going to get a new quaternion, which is a special rotation 4 vector that allows us to kind of describe rotations in 3D space. And we're going to set it equal to quaternion dot look rotation. This is a convenient little function in Unity that takes a vector and tells you how to kind of transform it to be a different vector. And in this case, we are going to use vector 3 dot up. I'm going to say game object dot transform dot rotation. It's going to equal quaternion dot rotate towards. I'm going to send this turtle's rotation to the 2 rotation value, and one variable I'm going to need here is a rotation speed. This way I can kind of control how quickly the turtle will adjust its position. I'm going to do rotation speed times time dot delta time. Perfect. All right. With just a couple lines of code, we have mirrored the new input system to kind of handle how we're going to be moving this turtle around. This time we're just using the wand device instead of querying the value of the stick tilt. So if we give this a try, let's probably make sure our turtle has more than 0 rotation speed. Let's see. Give it just a second for everything to come up. Let's see. Oh, that was a problem. Wasn't on the games tab. Now our turtle is moving around, turning around the island, doing all the wonderful things that a turtle might do. All right. So we've got that wrapped up. Now, one of the other features that the input system has available to it are action maps, which is kind of a way of mapping different input presses and actions to different events in Unity. We do also work with the action map system, but I think for today we're going to keep it just to this traditional wand device setup. We don't have enough time to go through everything, unfortunately. All right. The next thing I want to show off, I think, is going to be the Tilt 5 board itself. Now, in a lot of cases, when you're using the Tilt or when you're using traditional systems, it's easy to think of everything in terms of the camera. The camera is where your head is in a lot of systems. It's kind of the view of the scene. With the Tilt 5, that is true as well. However, the camera's position is actually entirely controlled by your head. So when this game is running, wherever my glasses are in 3D space around the board, that controls exactly where all the cameras for the Tilt 5 system are. Because of that, it makes for an interesting problem to handle how to move your cameras around the world. You can't just grab the camera and shove it somewhere else. The person's head is already kind of controlling that. So the way the Tilt 5 works is we actually use the Tilt 5 game board as a tracking origin. And so to move the camera around, instead of moving the head, all we have to do is move the board itself. If we move the board around, we can actually control exactly what the player is seeing inside of the scene. Let me show that off real quick. So I had this input manager and I had it moving the turtle originally. I'm going to go back into the script and we're not going to use the new wand device stuff for now. I'm going to go back to the original input system. Take the stick tilt and we just apply it as a translate onto a game object. And then for this input manager, we can go ahead and change the game object to the Tilt 5 board. Now, all of these settings are kind of managed inside of this Tilt 5 manager here. This is where all of the unique features of the Tilt 5 can kind of be set. And for example, for player 1, which I am by default, I have my game board set to this game board object. If we want to do 2 players, we might add a second game board and have them follow something else along. But for now, we're just going to try having my input manager move the game board instead. And just like that, now when I move the joystick around, there we go, on the scene, I'm also moving the entire game board, which, as you can kind of see, is like moving the camera, but has the kind of inverse effect because it moves the entire world relative to the cameras. Now, in addition to controlling movement, we can also control scale. So let's go ahead and use some other buttons on the Tilt 5 wand and change the scale of the game board. So if the input, let's try and get a button value. Now we have a couple different options here. We have try get button down, which only fires once when the button is pressed. We have try get button up, which fires once when the button is released. Or we can simply use try get button, which will tell us the continual state of whatever button we specify. Like, for example, the 1 button. Then, as with all of our other functions, we have to make sure we have an out. This variable right here is going to be storing the value of the button after you've started using it. So, do if button, so we're going to check if the button is pressed, and if it is, we're going to take a game object.transform.local local scale, and we're going to, let's say, shrink it down to 95% of its value. That way, when we press the 1 button, we'll scale down just a little bit. Now I'm going to copy paste this because for the 2 button, it's essentially the same thing, except we're referencing the 2 button. We'll change our variable, and then we'll multiply the scale by 1.05 to get to go up. Now, if we come back into Unity, once it finishes compiling our scripts, give it a play. And now when I press the 2 button, I zoom in. The 1 button zooms everything out, just like that. And I can still pan around the scene, so if I want to get up and close with this turtle, you can zoom in real close and see exactly where he is in the scene. Perfect. That is a good question. Sorry I missed that a little bit earlier. Yes, it is okay, but I don't recommend it because both will be operating at the same time. That is why I have commented out the old stuff and leaving in the new stuff. Otherwise, both systems do work at the same time, and you'll kind of get duplicate inputs controlling the same object in this case. Now let's see. It's 4:30, and I want to cover a couple other things. I think, yeah, the next thing I'm going to show off is going to be a little extra feature of the Tilt 5 wand. So the Tilt 5 wand, up till now, we've just been using it as a standard controller, like a gamepad. But given that the Tilt 5 is creating 3D holograms in 3D space, there should be another use for this. And in fact, there is. The wand is a fully tracked device with the Tilt 5 headset as well. So if we take a game object, for example, this input manager, and I threw it onto the aim point of my right wand for player 1 here, then as soon as we start the scene, we're going to see something happen. I'm going to use this trail render as a little bit of a visualizer for us. Set the time to 0.5. Color probably fine. Let's see if this is working. Make sure everything is connected. And maybe because I'm using a bad color for this, let's make sure everything is properly. Okay, it's tracking. I think it's just my trail renderer here is not very useful. I should probably change the color of it. Oh, no, I think I just dropped the width too small. And then I'm going to go ahead and adjust the color to blue, something like that. And there we go. Now I got a little bit more of a line going so we can kind of see the tracking of the wand. The wand itself has full 3D spatial tracking, so anywhere that the wand moves in 3D space, any rotation, any kind of adjustment to it, the glasses are always tracking and following it everywhere in space. This is really useful when you want to use it to, say, interact with objects in the scene. If we wanted to, for example, pick up the turtle, it would just take a couple little additions and we can make that happen. So let's do that. We're going to add a new collider. But this one's going to be a trigger on our wand. Make sure our turtle still has its box collider and rigid body. Perfect. And then we're going to come into the input manager. And we're going to add a new set of scripts. Alson Tour, that's a good question. I was changing the local scale of the board, and that is in fact how we recommend changing the scale of everything. The content scale is usually a one-time setting to kind of adjust your overall world scale to match some of the content. But I don't recommend changing that during game settings. I recommend using the board's local scale to control all of that. All right, let's get this turtle flying. So, to handle this, we're going to use a on-trigger stay. This way we can make sure when something is inside of that trigger box on the wand, it will work. We're going to go back to our we're going to try and get the trigger value this time. Out var trigger value. Make sure to wrap that in an if. And then let's check the value. If the trigger, so the trigger operates on a 0 to 1 full value scale. So if the value is fully pressed, then if the trigger is fully pressed, it'll have a value of 1.0. And if it is fully released, it'll have a value of 0.0. So I'm going to check if it's at least halfway pressed down. That's probably close enough to fully pressed for our purposes. Now we need to keep track of what object is being carried. Double equal. We're going to set other.transform.gameObject. Oops, no, transform. Other.transform. There we go. .parent equal. This way, whatever object we're grabbing is going to make itself a child of whatever object is being dragged along with the wand. We're going to set our stored game object to the other game object. Now we have two special things I'm going to do for this object because it does have a rigid body. Rigid bodies being physics objects in Unity. We're going to go ahead and turn off its gravity while we're carrying it around in space. And I am also going to set it to be isKinematic. That way it doesn't get bumped by any other physical object while we're carrying it around. Now, I can pretty much duplicate this code up in our input script here, up in our update function. And instead of checking if the carried object is not null, or if it is null, we'll check if it's not null, if the value is less than 0.5. This way, if we've released the trigger and we're currently carrying something, then instead of other.gameObject, we'll do carried object .transform.parent, and we're going to set this to null. We're going to set carried object to null, use gravity to true, isKinematic to false, and just like that, we should, if I set everything up correctly, be able to pick up our turtle. Let's give it a try. So, make sure everything is tracking still, and I'm able to pick up the turtle, drag him around. Now he's following my wand in space. If I let go, the turtle falls back to the island, just like before. So, that's how we set up a slightly different interaction scheme in the TIL5 system. Now, what we've gone over today, we've talked about a couple different tools on how to just get started with the TIL5 system, to get inputs into your game, to get using the wand, how to control the board in different ways, move it around, scale things. The last thing I want to show off today is I want to answer the question, well, how do I show this to my friends? One of the challenges we found when developing the TIL5 is that the holograms, they look amazing for you when you're using the glasses, but for everyone else, they're staring at you looking at a gray board. So we have partnered with a company called Mixcast that allows us to do live rendering over top of webcams and make this kind of holographic reality come to life. So to get Mixcast going, you need two things. You're going to need the Mixcast client, which if you come to the Mixcast site, you can download their installer right here. Now, Mixcast does have a paid version, but they also have a free edition available. It'll allow you basically to do up to 720p by default, and everything else is essentially the same in the free and the paid versions. The only other thing you'll need is you're going to need the Unity SDK. Without this, you can't actually do anything from the game. So we're going to go ahead and download the package. I already have Mixcast installed on my computer here. If we go ahead and import this Mixcast package from downloads, there we go, all the Mixcast stuff. I just hit import. As soon as it's in, your game is already ready to be displayed. Let's give this a try. I'm going to wait for it to finish compiling. Now, the first time you set up the Mixcast client, you're going to need to input a key of some kind to be able to use it. I've already entered my key for now, but I'm going to show how to configure the Mixcast system as well. So right here, I have a webcam already plugged in to my computer, and there should be a section down here in the lens info. This is called calibrating. This allows the webcam itself, right over here, ooh, don't bump everything, it's going to look at a Tilt 5 board. It's going to try and track the position of that Tilt 5 board, and as soon as we apply it, this camera is now good to go. So, with Mixcast running, as soon as I hit play, first thing it's going to do, it's going to start the game like normal, add our glasses in, everything is going to behave the same. But we're also going to see over top, make sure everything is working properly. Oh, it's reloading everything. It's still starting up the game. Give it just a second. It's a big project, so there's a lot to load. In the meantime, this is going to be the last thing I'm going to be showing off today. So if anyone has any questions they've been dying to ask, I recommend getting your brain moving on those. Start typing them into the chat if you have them. Or you can reach out to Daniel. Are we going to be doing any other way for questions?
Yes, you will be able to, when you're done here, Justin, we will allow people to also hit the raise hand button and pull up stage to ask their questions if they don't want to type in the chat.
Perfect. All right, that sounds perfect. Cool. Yeah, that is a good question. How would you place a tracking dot on the board to represent where the wand is pointing? One recommendation I would do, you could take a game object, and if you throw it onto the wand, oh, Unity's taking a long while to reload these. Come on, Unity, you can figure it out. You can throw a game object onto an object that is set in the wand to follow the aim point, and then if you want to do like a dot, you could probably do a raycast down from that object and then give it like a forward direction, forward being relative to that game object. And that would essentially do a raycast down and then track the position that that raycast collides with a game board object. You could give the game board a tag and then check if the raycast is hitting an object of a specific tag, for example. And then you could have some kind of little dot game object that just kind of follows the position of that calculated raycast value. I'm going to go ahead and reset this. Unity has gotten very confused about all of the things it's trying to pull up. Well, while that's loading and finishing up, why don't we just go ahead and I can take some more questions. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to either type them in the chat or you can raise your hand and I can pull you up to the stage and you can ask them over voice. Whoa. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Just kicked me out of the stage. What is the typical latency for tracking the wand in a scene? That is a good question. I'm trying to remember the exact value, but in general, you shouldn't be seeing more than a frame or two of tracking latency in terms of where the wand's position is in real life relative to what the tracked position in Unity is. Jonathan, I know you're in the chat there. Do you remember what the latency might be for that? Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know the exact value in milliseconds either, but it should be quite low latency on wand tracking in general. Oh boy, Unity is very unhappy today. That is okay. I'm gonna go the hard way. Exactly. And make sure to teach Unity who's boss. Give it a second to come back up. All right. Make sure we still have our mixcast system in here. That all looks good. Everything else behaved the same. So hopefully, as soon as Unity finishes, as soon as Mixcast finishes coming up, and Unity is ready, let's give it another go. This may be because this is configured to use camera that is not on this computer anymore. Oops, this one. There we go. Oh my. That does not look quite right to me. Let's get that recalibrated. And apply that, and well, Mixcast is certainly doing something a little strange. Let's see what is going on here. Scene looks normal for my glasses. Not sure what's going on with Mixcast today. How very strange. This may just be a version compatibility issue. I have an older version of the Mixcast client installed on my computer. Well, it was working earlier today, so that's so very strange. But that's okay. Exactly. It wouldn't be a demo if there weren't something strange going on. All right, let's quit out of the Mixcast client. Yes, there is a Mixcast for Unreal as well. I'm going to go ahead and set my glasses on my dev stand here so I have both my hands free to keep working. All right. All right, Mixcast, you're gonna be like that today, huh? It's probably that compile issue I had just a little while ago that was causing things to mess up. Oh, thank you, AJ. Yes, we also have a wide array of developer resources. You can go to tilt5.com/developers. You can find a lot of baseline tools. Oh boy. There we go. Let's try that from scratch. We also have docs.tilt5.com, where we have a bunch of API documentation and things like that for both Unity and Unreal Engine. We recently released a Unreal 5.1 little beta test version onto our Discord channel, so you're welcome to check it out there. And then available on our site, we have the 4.2.7 back through 4.2.0 available for Unreal Engine as well. All right, let's get Mixcast out of this project. We'll try doing that fresh. Nothing like a clean slate. While I'm pulling that back up, are there any other questions from anyone? Let's see. Yes, thank you for that call out. In the SDK that comes with the SDK download, there's also a set of sample projects. In fact, I can show where they're at. So C, program files, Tilt5, SDK, Unity examples. It's just Unity examples. I can't show it here because it's actually zipped up in here, but C, program files, Tilt5, SDK, Unity examples. Right here, this is a full project with, I think, 15 or 20 scenes that have different kinds of like UI and control interactions and things like that. That is a good question, Lone Tech. How do you go about filtering objects per player, e.g. for fog of war or personal sound? That is a lovely question. So I didn't get to talk much about it today, but we allow for multiple different players almost by default with the Tilt5 system. When you're using anything from our SDK 1.30 forward, you have access to this Tilt5 Manager 2, which has multiple players. Essentially, when your game is running, the game will attempt to take any other glasses plugged into the same system, up to the number specified here at the top, and add them as additional pairs of heads moving around. Now, one of the things that kind of comes with having multiple glasses looking at the same board is we can control the individual views of those glasses. In particular, this culling mask here is where we can kind of control what is viewed by different people. So right now, player 1 is by default able to see all of the different UI. But if I, for example, took this turtle and threw him on a new layer, let's say I made a new layer that this was made only for player 2 to see. Now there isn't a player 2 right now, but that's okay. If I come into the manager here and I change the culling mask so that he can't see player 2, then when this game is running, from the glasses perspective, there will no longer be a turtle. As long as I did everything correctly, which I seem to have missed. Oh, I probably should make sure my turtle is actually on that layer. That would be an important change. So, while on this preview, it looks like the turtle's still in the scene, through the glasses, the turtle has actually completely disappeared. That's because that turtle is now culled out. Yeah, I do need to change the mirror mode. Right now, we have, down here in the global settings, under Spectate, we have the way of viewing different, the none is kind of this smooth version of the glasses, but if I want to see exactly what the left eye is projecting right now, I can change the mirror mode to left eye, and you can see that the turtle is now not in the scene anymore. You may notice there's a little bit of vibration going on here. That is because we have kind of an unfiltered view for the eye cams. If you're just trying to show a player perspective, I recommend keeping your mirror mode at none for the most part when you're trying to just view it inside of the Unity project. So by just changing the layer of the object, you can change, you can set a culling mask for different players to view different things. Now, by default, players 2 through 4 will copy all of the player 1 values, but you can click this little chain on the right side to unlink it, and now player 2 will be able to view the turtle again. I don't have a player plugged in right now, but if I did, he would be able to see the turtle. Alright, let me give Mixcast another try. Now that we've got it set up. Got a clean import this time. We're going to give it one final try. Alright, go ahead and hit play. Let's see if Mixcast has figured out where everything is. It has not. That is okay. There may be some lingering issues we have to sort out on that one to figure out why Mixcast is not showing it. It probably has something to do with the kind of terrain box here. And the Mixcast cameras are getting blocked by something, but that's okay. So, as we are nearing the end of the time, are there any final questions from anyone? That is a good question, Sky the Crow. This was kind of done as a special event just to kind of show off some getting started stuff with Unity. But something that I have been throwing around and we may try and start doing soon is trying to do a little bit more, something kind of like a dev hour, where maybe once a week or so we will set up just something similar to this, maybe over on our Twitch channel, where we just do some game development with Tilt 5. We take some of the existing projects we have, something we've been working on the weekend, things like that, and we just sit down for an hour. People are welcome to join in, ask questions, chat with us, and I'm going to see if I can try and make that a thing in the coming weeks. So if people are interested, you should check out our Twitch channel. We're just getting it started right now. Any other questions? Unfortunately, I can't right now, but it will be saved in the video. This is all being recorded, so that will be saved for you. And I believe we'll be posting this on YouTube later, so you can go back and reference it there. There are also other videos on YouTube that go through some of the different input systems. It focuses primarily on the new input system, but it should cover the old input system as well. And if you want, if we do those developer hours in the coming weeks, you're always welcome to join and ask more about it there, and I might be able to provide more context. Yeah, that's a great idea, Hans. You can give us some ideas, and we'll see what we can bring to it. Now, as a final note, as we're reaching the end of today, I mentioned this at the beginning, but for anyone that is interested in picking up a Tilt 5 system for themselves to start developing, trying things out, seeing what's possible, we are doing a discount promo code for today. I don't know the exact time frame. Daniel might be able to quote me on that. Thank you. Yes, the discount code is T5 Unity Event, capital U, capital E, capital T at the beginning. It's a 15% code, and it will be going on through tomorrow. So it is a 15% discount for anyone that wants one. And for anyone who has any more questions about the SDK, the glasses, anything like that, you are able to follow us. You're able to join into our Discord. We have a booming Discord community that is always happy to help answer any questions people might have. Good question. Where do you place orders? You can go to tilt5.com. And in fact, right at the top, we have a buy now. We are selling XE kits, 1, 2, and 3 packs, our XE game board, and our LE game board. The LE game board is the one I was using today. It's more square shaped. And then the XE game board, as you can see here, is longer, more rectangular, and it comes with a kickstand as well that you can kind of bring up the back. You can buy more kits after the fact. You cannot buy individual headsets at the moment, no. All right, do we have any other questions from anyone? So a couple last questions in the chat. You do not, the way you set your game board is actually in the control panel itself. So it'll actually be a per user piece of information. You can set it to LE, XE, XE raised, and we may have more options coming in the future. Who knows? But that information, whatever the user has selected in terms of their board, is actually provided to Unity as a queryable value. Fans, absolutely. They're there. The glasses, they do tend to get a little warm, but we have found that even at their maximum heat, nothing too egregious can come from those fans and the heat to kind of cause any harm or anything like that. Yes, thank you, Oikimo. You can change the gizmo preview in Unity as well. If you want to change this, let me see if I remember where it is. It should be in the manager gizmo, and then you can change the type of the gizmo to be like an XE, so you can see what XE board would look like. You can change it to XE raised, everything like that. Then we can do one more question, and then we will call it. Yes, essentially what we call the far side of the board. For the LE, it is just a little bit closer. For the XE, there's an extra about foot and a half on there. And for the XE raised, that last section can just be tipped up, and it gives you a little bit more vertical height to the kind of view box of the glasses. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for coming out. Daniel, do you have any final words for anyone? For everyone?
Yeah, thank you, Justin, so much. That was great. Thank you, everyone who came and hung out and who hopped in. And please, we are always looking for feedback, and we're always looking for new ideas as far as future webinars. What do you want to see? What do you want to learn about? If you're working on something for Tilt 5 and you're not part of the Discord already, please hang out, show us what you're working on, and let us know what we can do to help you. We're all here. We're all eager to help you guys. That code runs till tomorrow. So feel free to use that as many times as you want. Yeah, if you have any questions, you can ping any of us in the Discord. We'll be more than happy to help, and hopefully we can get another one of these rolling again soon. This was super fun.
Have a great night, everyone.